Those who perpetrated these horrendous acts have lost their humanity and have become like wild beasts with only one thought in mind: to devour their prey. These persons, so depraved, only want to bring death and destruction because of their hatred for the United States of America. Whenever any human being is deprived of justice, the mind becomes imbalanced. The greater the injustice, the greater the imbalance. In a balanced world, institutions are established for the redress of grievances, and with this facility of expression, rage and frustration can be quenched and abated. The terrorists did not target the beautiful island of Barbados or Switzerland. These are not random, meaningless acts. So why? Why is America so hated?
America was targeted for attack because we're the brightest beacon for freedom and opportunity in the world.
Unfortunately, this self-indulgent nursery rhyme answer alone strips him of credibility as a leader in tune with the reality of the world outside of America. After the Gulf War, over 500,000 children died because of US sanctions. Innocent children, hidden from the eyes of the media and the tears of the outside world. Palestinians die daily at what they see as an oppressive and heavy-handed Israeli government, supported politically and financially by America. You have bin Laden, we have Sharon, they say. In this world, there is no shortage of hostility for America because of their actions, past and present. Any clear definition of what constitutes terrorism is being avoided, as America is afraid it may first have to turn its anti-terrorism guns on itself.
Coleman McCarthy is the director of the Center for Teaching Peace. He's a professor at Georgetown Law School and teaches at American University.
We have a history of bombing countries. In the past 20 years alone, we've bombed Libya, Grenada, Panama, Somalia, Afghanistan, Sudan, Iraq, and before that, Cambodia, Vietnam, Laos, Congo, Indonesia, Guatemala. We are, as Martin Luther King said, the greatest purveyor of violence in the world today is my own government. Until we disarm and de-escalate our war machine, we're going to be hated around the world.
Clearly, by any dictionary definition, America is an international terrorist, exporting intimidation and intrigue. It is interesting to note that the USA controls over 70% of the international market in weapons. The US peddles products of destruction to so-called undemocratic regimes and unstable regions across the planet. Of the 48 regional wars going on today, 39 involve US weapons, and since World War II, over 40 million people have died in these conflicts, largely women and children. In a recent CNN poll, would you accept more government involvement into your life if it meant greater security? 70% voted yes. Now the coalition governments have people so scared that they are willing to give up their personal freedom in exchange for totalitarianism. The CIA has failed the people it has sworn to represent. The CIA gladly takes the bullet for not being more prepared. They say with more funding diverted from schools and health, they will be better equipped to protect the nation. Now that the government recognizes the need for greater intelligence, the CIA will no doubt be dusted off and restored to its former seat of power, a seat that it has not sat on since the Cold War era.
The CIA and NSA have depended on Project Echelon, a multinational electronic snooping system with keyword retrieval.
Think of Echelon as an internet search engine. And if you're smart, you don't use the word like bomb and trade center and hijack and flight lessons. You don't use keywords that are going to tip people off. While they're up over there, you're just sucking up like a vacuum cleaner every single transmission. Cell phones, faxes, radios, telephone calls, HF, VHF, and so on. And what happens is all that data is collected, and then it's run through computers, and then it has to get sifted down to where we have people who are fluent in the language.
The Taliban regime before this incident received mixed feelings. Regardless of what is believed of the Taliban, they are clearly not the terrorists that inspired the World Trade Center bombing. They have been drawn into this conflict on a different rope. because of their friendship and loyalty to an ex-soldier of the Afghan-Russian War. They have been singled out because they have no fear in a climate of fire. They have made honor their bond and have not knelt before an insurmountable opposition. They have no fear or respect for America, and thus pose a threat that must be killed before it is allowed to grow. The Taliban, prior to September the 11th, have practiced an isolationist policy which has not been to neither their nor their people's advantage. Politics is something alien to the Taliban rulers. Their no-tolerance policy and hardline tactics have choked practicality. Nonetheless, it is noticeable that in all of the smoke they have stood cool-headed and asked one simple request: give us evidence.
And tonight, the United States of America makes the following demands on the Taliban. Deliver to United States authorities all the leaders of Al-Qaeda who hide in your land.
The world that claims to be defending civilization seems to be the one that should take lessons from these so-called uncivilized militants. Bush claims no negotiation. Why?
These demands are not open to negotiation.
This stance adds credence to the accusations of the Taliban that his war has nothing to do with bin Laden, but is really a war to crush an Islamic government.
If Mr. George Bush is not providing evidence and he is just expressing words in order to pave the way for war and attack in Afghanistan, it means the attack is pre-planned. They have already terrorized the common people. Thousands of people are...
The Taliban have earned the respect of many young revolutionary thinkers throughout the world who see through the Western propaganda mask. Many who previously condemned their extreme Islamic ideology now have great reverence for their bold stance. The Taliban know that the only way Bush can win this war is if they surrender bin Laden and bow. In a climate of fire, they know they must stand firm.
I myself have always criticized the Taliban. I criticize them on their position on women, on the media, on so many things, on enclosing themselves in a cocoon, separating themselves from the world. But today I admire them because they stand to America and to Britain. And they say to them, it is God who changes kingdoms and powers, and not America and Britain.
Every nation in every region now has a decision to make. Either you are with us or you are with the terrorists.
Bush and his henchmen now have their witch hunt. They have set up the basic validation to take away freedom, the same freedom they profess to uphold. Layer by layer, they will peel away until the world is their extension. Now it is impossible to separate any non-American ideology from terrorist ideology. Any group calling for an Islamic government is seen as a terrorist group. This word is being bastardized, and it will be used to drive fear into a jittery Western people. All that stands outside of democracy and Western values will be painted with this brush.
Their leaders are self-appointed. They want to overthrow existing governments in many Muslim countries, such as Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and Jordan. They want to drive Israel out of the Middle East.
So, is it really about terrorism, or is the agenda wider? Although Blair and Bush have reassured the world that it is not a war against the Muslim people, and that terrorism and Islam are not the same, it is strange that all the countries being targeted are Muslim countries, with absolutely no exception.
Almost all the nations we've bombed in the last 20 years are mostly people of color. Interesting fact. That's U.S. foreign policy. Go bomb and kill people with dark-colored skin.
Little mention of plans to attack Ireland have been proposed. No plans to bomb Irish camps harbouring and training Sinn Féin terrorists. Gerry Adams' face is not on any dead or alive poster. It is also interesting to note that when Sinn Féin terrorist acts occur, the media label them as just Sinn Féin terrorist acts, never as extremist Catholic Christian fanatics. Nor was professed Christian Timothy McVeigh, the Oklahoma bomber,